United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So, opening business, the approval of the minutes. We have minutes for Monday, May 4th and April 20th. I would entertain a motion.
I move that we approve the minutes with one amendment. The regular meeting minutes has the issue about 1 and 1.5 principles. The numbers were transposed and it looks like it failed unanimously instead of passing unanimously, and with that correction, I move to approve.
I'll second.
No, go ahead.
Any other corrections or thoughts on the minutes from the board? Okay, Colleen?
Yes. Monica?
Yes. Robert?
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, approval of bills and warrants. I would entertain a motion.
Make a motion to approve the bills and warrants as presented.
I'll second.
And any discussion from the board? Steve?
Yes.
Robert?
Yes.
Monica? Yes. Colleen?
Yes.
Yes. And superintendent report.
Sorry for the voice. I have to report the resignation of Andy as the assistant clerk. Secondly, also, the new superintendent and I have to have transition meetings, we're talking again to share information that I hope will help him. He takes over on July 1, they've been very productive meetings, I feel they've been very positive, and hopefully helpful. The most important thing is to announce that, excuse me, that this, on the 24th, we'll be celebrating the graduation of 24 of our students, thanks to their families, their teachers, their parents, everyone who's had a hand in their success. You should all pat yourselves on the back and be very proud of the work that you've done, and I thank you for that. But the children are really the ones who will benefit from all the great things you've done for them. Now we are on the 24th. The principals will fill you in on the particulars of every other rule.
Kevin?
Alright. I handed out the elementary newsletter to you guys. I'm just gonna summarize that and then, add a couple other things, and that's it. So, end of the year coming up, we have the end of the year barbecue on Thursday. And it looks like the weather's gonna hold out for us. We'll see. We've been lucky for the last, I don't know how many years, but, so we'll hope to be lucky again. With that being said, as we move into summer break, summer programs will be starting here for the month of June and July, I believe a week into August. That's part of our after-school program, 21st Century program. That's a really fun grant that we are in year 2, or let's see, in year 2 of that 5-year grant. So year 2, all right, thanks Mrs. Cole. So super thankful to have that. We generally average about 30 students in the summertime for that, for our elementary part of the summer program. Summer program is a little more heavily based towards the elementary students, K 6. And so, with that being said, we also offer the summer lunch program, which is mainly administrated by Larry Joe and the kitchen staff, and there are a number of sites that are all on the newsletter there that we do that. 2 of the main sites are the pool park and here at the school, because that's where the majority of our students are during the summertime. So super glad to have that. And just a side note with that, I actually met with the Montana Food Bank Network folks that do our backpack program, and they were asking about the summer program, because they're somewhat involved in that. And come to find out, there's a lot of schools, roughly our size, that do not do this program, which is really shocking. So they were very complimentary of how robust ours is, and complimentary to Larry Joe and what we've done and what she's done. So, let's see, we just completed the annual 6th grade camp out up at Bend Ranger Station. Again, it was a blast. The weather wasn't great, but such a great experience for our students. so many firsts for so many students when they go. I can think of 2 different students, we were making s'mores, and they never had a s'more. So, to get to the age of 12 and never have had a s'more, you can't help but feel good to see them bite into one and find out that it's their favorite meal of all time. So, just so glad to be able to do that. Thanks to Mrs. Jarasco and Mrs. Feist, they do a really great job, and it's a lot of work. Forest Service helps out a lot, and a lot of volunteers come and do a lot of presentations, so we just hope to continue that tradition. Elementary track day will be this Wednesday, and so Mrs. Ferlin she heads that up and has her plan for workers, and doing it same as we've done in the past. We've got kindergarten, 1st and 2nd grade in the morning, 3rd, 4th, and 5th in the afternoon, and hoping the weather's good for it. It's always a fun day. I know our students look forward to it. Ms. Ferlin does a nice job of making sure that all of them are participants and that they are feeling like they get to compete. So, and with that, 4th quarter ends Thursday, so we will have report cards sent out hopefully in a couple of weeks for elementary grades. And with that, we're out for summer break soon, so that's all I got.
So like Dr. Walsh mentioned, graduation is Sunday. We started the year with 25 seniors and we have 24 graduating. So that is a really high percentage. Really proud of all of our kids that are graduating. On Wednesday, the 8th graders are going to celebrate their last day of junior high. They've opted to just do a party instead of have a big ceremony. So they're going to go play dodgeball for the first half, and then they're having ice cream sundaes for the second half. So it's not a big event for families to come in, but that's kind of what the student council decided. Over the years, from what I've learned, it kind of goes back and forth. So today we had an awards ceremony with our junior high and high school, and over 50 students were recognized. Probably 70 awards were given. So it's quite impressive to see all these kids that work hard all year get acknowledged for their academic achievement. Summer school for the high school looks a little different. Most of what we offer, our guidance counselor, he does mostly credit retrieval for some of those kids that need to get caught up, or sometimes you have students who want to work ahead. So it's mostly a couple kids doing credit recovery or MTDA classes. And that's about all that's going on right now. The end of the year is wrapping up. But I would like to personally take a moment and thank Doug Patton, before he becomes a board member, for his help with our science department for the last 2 months. He's stepped right in, he's been doing lessons, he's taken the kids outside. He's really been super, super helpful while our science teacher is out. So thank you, Mr. Patton.
Is the athletic director here?
No.
He's absent today, okay. I think he was gonna go over uniforms and stuff with us, but we have a copy of that in the packet for possible, rotation for uniforms. Food service supervisor.
We really don't have much. We're pretty busy right now wrapping up the school year and then shifting gears into the summer program. And we have all the applications in for those, like Kevin said. We have 5 sites this year. We have our churches that are just looking on. So those are all average about 100 a day. We got weeks. We're looking forward to shifting gears and doing that. We're still looking pretty good with our numbers, so that's exciting. Does anyone have a question? What's about that?
Thanks for the being in the black.
Yeah.
Or green.
Yeah, or green.
Yeah.
I like
Green's the
green
new
colors.
black.
Yes, thank you, you've managed your department very well. It has been beautiful to see you hold that this year.
With that being said, it looks like a lot, but it really isn't, you have, say, one, member of our team choose to have insurance, you know, that's possibly another $2,000 a month, so that is pretty tight. So I just realized that, what you see right here looks like a lot, but that was a lot of hard work to get that, and just simple changes like increasing wages and, changing insurance, those kinds of things will make that look much cheaper.
You know,
We
Larry
definitely
Joe,
need to stay on top
a
of
win
it.
is a win. And you should take it for what it is. Exactly as that.
Thank you.
So, good job.
And the financial report, monthly budget report.
Okay, we focus here for this one. Sorry, I was ready for, getting a honor society here. Okay, so, this is through May, and obviously we're not completely through the month, but typically you pay, you know, you have your payroll right at the beginning of the month and the bulk of your claims. So I think this is still a good, report, and it's a very positive report. The general funds, the one we're keeping the eye on, hopefully, just, end the year right on our target of, what we're budgeted to spend. And, because Plains has an interlocal agreement fund, if you have some funds left in the general fund, you can take action as a board to transfer that money into the interlocal agreement fund and start to build some reserve in that fund, because it's not in your best interest to return any general fund money. And the rest of these funds, any, money that you have left at the end of the year, will just carry over to the next year and reduce taxes, but it doesn't work that way in the general fund, so. The transportation fund, and tonight you're going to be considering, an addendum to your transportation contract. And that might, we haven't seen all the numbers yet, but that might require you to do a budget amendment, because I'm not sure you can make those changes and still live within your budget. And you have until June 30th, which is interesting because the school year is over June 30th, but you have until June 30th to go through the process of adopting a budget amendment. And basically what you'd be doing is, you would get the board would, authorize first the ability to use your reserve that's in the transportation fund to cover costs that may potentially go beyond your budget authority. And, that requires action at the board, it requires a notice in the newspaper for a week, and then it requires a second action of the board. So, hopefully we'll be able to, have access to the numbers we need to figure out, okay, do we need to start down that path? You can overspend your budget, it will be an audit exception, and that's not something you necessarily want to do. I mean, nobody goes to jail or anything, but, if you can avoid it, it would be better to do the budget amendment process. So we'll do our best to get numbers pulled together in time for you to take the appropriate action and request, a budget amendment. So then you would spend into your reserve, and then next year, you would need to replenish your reserve, so it would drive your taxes up enough to replenish your reserve, because you don't wanna operate without some reserves for just this kind of situation. Things change, during the school year, and you wanna have a little bit of money in your savings account to tap into if you need to. So that process may need to be, because as you can see, we're down to $43,000, and, there'll be more discussion on this whole process a little bit later in the meeting, but just kind of making you aware that we might need to go through that budget amendment process.
The tuition, the second half of tuition is due in June. But your tuition fund is healthy, so no worries there, and I think your retirement fund's gonna be fine. The adult ed, all of these other funds look good. And then your cash funds, you're just limited to the amount of cash that you have. And if we happen to be in a deficit, we will, bring forward a request to the board to cover any funds that end up in the negative. But I think overall, the budget looks good. Remember in June, well, in the next week or so, you're gonna pay teachers 3 times, right? You're gonna pay them their June, July, and August payments. So that's gonna hit this $700,000 pretty hard. And then, once those payrolls are done, which should happen within the next 10 days, we'll be able to take a look at, we do have some requests, purchase orders, requests for, supplies and such for next year. And at that point, we'll be able to look at that and say, okay, can we place these orders or not? And then we'll move forward on those if there's money available. So, yeah, all in all, I think you're in good shape, and maybe even we'll end up with a little more money in your interlocal agreement fund here. Questions?
So, yeah, I do.
Okay.
Transportation budget. If I'm hearing you correctly, that's gonna cause us some trouble. Potentially.
Well, yeah, it's gonna require you to take some further action to, increase your budget authority, because I do think you're going to spend more than your budget authority. But I don't know that you have any other options.
Yeah. But we'll know when we get actual numbers, I should say
Yes.
the next one we'll know.
Yes. Okay.
You're welcome.
Yeah, just kicking that can down the road.
Sure is. Okay, old business, consideration and possible action to approve an amendment to the contract with Revere Transportation. Before you is the amendment, we've talked about it, we've had a couple of meetings, I would entertain a motion before we discuss it.
I move we approve the amendment to the contract with Revere Transportation.
I'll second.
Okay, any comments from the board first about the amendment and the discussions that we've had?
Well, you know, this has been a topic of conversation for a couple different things. And it's complicated because you're talking about comparing 2 different fuel sources for the power of an engine. You're comparing an engine that's powered with fossil fuels with one that's powered with electricity. And the operating costs of a diesel engine are pretty easy to quantify because we've had diesel for a long time. An electrical engine is different because we don't have a long history with it, we don't understand. There's different operating costs besides the cost of the fuel. There's the charging of the batteries, the very expensive expenditure to buy the batteries, the fact that the batteries have a shelf life of 7 to 10 years, so you have to save enough money to replace them. And we don't actually have a really good handle on what those costs are yet. So we're basically giving Revere Transportation a year's grace to gather that information for us so that we can decide what the best contract for the district would be. So we're giving them a year where we're gonna kind of use diesel as a guide, even though diesel is not the fuel. But we have agreed to do that so that we will have a better grasp of what the operating costs for electrical engines are.
And just so, for those of you who weren't a part of those kind of conversations, what it boiled down to, Chad, correct me if I'm wrong, is, we pay a base rate for each bus that goes out for a regular route. What Revere Transportation has asked us to do is, instead of paying the extra in diesel fuel, which is over the $2.04 above, right, that it costs per gallon, to add 28 cents per mile to help cover the cost for putting money in for the batteries and all the things, since there isn't an actual diesel cost. Did I get that correct?
Yep.
So that's basically what's written here. Does anyone in the public have comments or questions about this particular agenda item. Yes, say your name, because people in there really wanna hear you.
I'm Vicki Brown, and I thought it was solar, which there should be a cost for the electricity.
Solar is a supplemental to the batteries that fuel the engines. The solar stuff on the bus supplements, but there's still a battery that needs to be charged, and the batteries themselves.
Solar wasn't talking about.
The solar is on the building, but it's not designed to work 100% off of solar to charge the buses. In his original presentation, there was an offset to the cost, correct me if I'm wrong, Chad, to where if he built up, he could have that added on, but that wasn't a guarantee that would float him for the entire year. It would just be adding extra costs back to Northwest Energy that would save him a credit. And then when all of a sudden his solar banks weren't charging anymore, because we get that winter time, we don't get it as much, that makes up for the difference for him, but it wasn't 100% being charged by the solar panels.
It's tough to learn.
Yeah.
You know, we all know that I'm on an island on this subject. You know, what was agreed upon 5 years ago, give or take, we're now seeing, and this is no offense to you, Chad, but we're now seeing the repercussions of maybe some bad decisions. And we're at 676 a mile, correct? And we're in trouble, potentially. Which means next year we're gonna be in trouble, again. In my experience, and I have a lot of it, we're paying a lot of money, people. And, I don't know if it's because you're only netting 350 miles a day, and therefore you have to have a higher accumulation to, well, make a living and cover the bills. And that's possible, and I can understand that. But I gotta tell you, in my experience, nobody makes $7 a mile. Not by a long shot, in fact.
Big Forks at 16.
Well, that doesn't mean that, and that's fine for them, if they can afford it. And that's fine if they don't know the difference, because they don't have the knowledge to make an educated decision. But, I really encourage the next board. In fact, I challenge you guys to if you're not educated in it. Anybody can give you numbers, and they can seem fine. Because if you don't know, you don't know, and you're gonna accept the numbers as what they are. But that doesn't mean that they can be better. So, with that being said, you know, our previous board entered into a contract, and we will fulfill it. But, Chad, I really hope, in the interests of this district, that, this electric situation that you put yourself into can come back full circle for you and us, with all due respect. So, that's all I have to say.
Question,
Well, no, I just have
or comment?
Yeah. I'm Katie Mitchell, I'm a teacher here, as most of you should know. But I just wanna say thanks, Chad, for doing all the numbers and Excel sheets spelling it out. Cause ultimately, he could be jacking up the price for our school at the diesel cost that it should be at. And right now, he's saying, let's keep it as is, this is a service I'm bringing to the school to get kids from point A to point B. And your money doesn't change in the school, it's the
same deal, it's just you're adding vocabulary and verbiage to his contract for the EV, or the electric buses. So thanks, Chad, for doing that, I appreciate it.
I wanna say one thing about Chad's thing with the electric buses. I only know this because of my job. Moser Transportation is currently changing this as well. And with me doing their bus inspections, they're waiting for his numbers before they can do theirs. They're waiting for what he has, cause he started it, and he's trying to figure it out from the ground level up, which I applaud him for doing, diving in blindly to try to do, cause the world's changing. And eventually, this is what schools are gonna be going to. Diesels are gonna be a thing of the past eventually, cause we're gonna run out of fossil fuels. I know for a fact that Mosers is gonna do it, but they are waiting for him to come back with his numbers first before they embark on their journey. Cause they don't wanna go blindly like he is, and I salute him for doing that.
Well, 100%, nothing ventured, nothing gained.
Shout our trailblazer.
There's nothing wrong with that either. But, I just hope this pans out for the better for everybody.
Hey, I mean, I just wanna say though to the board, I do appreciate you guys giving the year to Chad. Running a nonprofit, it is terrifying to go out on new adventures or endeavors and not know the full numbers of what it's gonna be, and I agree, Steve, like, it's a shot that it's like, okay, how's this gonna work out? And so, thanks for giving me a year to try to figure it out, and, I think it's absolutely a good move, so thanks.
Any other comments about the MOU before we vote? Okay, I think we're gonna vote. Colleen?
Yes.
Monica?
Yes.
Robert?
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. If that all makes sense, we can send that one later. Okay. National Honor Society, trip presentation, yay, we're so excited you guys got to go. This is one of the good parts of this job. This is fun.
Okay, hello.
Hi.
This is our presentation, if you guys were here quite a few board meetings ago. Yeah, in December, we got approved to go on a National Honor Society trip that is like 6 days long. We raised all the money for it, and we did a lot of budgeting, breaking up all the numbers to like just try to figure out what we could do, and we were able to actually do pretty much everything we wanted to. And so this is just our presentation about how the week went.
So, my name is Karen Meredith, and I will be telling you guys about our first trip, our first day traveling to Arizona. So, we met at the school here, and then we got on a short bus that took us all the way to Missoula Airport. And then everybody got through the safety check pretty good, there was no problem. And then we boarded the plane and landed in Phoenix. And then we went to go get our rental van. And our Airbnb wasn't ready yet, so we went to go get some In-N-Out because we were all pretty hungry. As you can see, this is a picture of all of us at In-N-Out. And yeah, that was pretty good. We explored this pond and park before we went to our Airbnb. There's apparently no pictures, but that was pretty fun. And then after that, we checked into our Airbnb and we swam at the pool that was at the B&B. It was pretty fire. This is Aubrey right here. Before dinner, she was taking a nap because she was too tired. And before we went to bed, we went to this grocery shop or this shopping place. Walmart. Groceries because we weren't gonna eat out every single day because it was gonna get too expensive, and we just came back and went to bed. Yeah.
That was great.
Yeah, on Monday, we got up pretty early because we wanted to have a nice long day at the Grand Canyon. Most of us hadn't been there. It was about a 3-hour ride. It was a fun van ride. One instance, Mila, like, was waving to people and just, like, trying to get them to say hi. So that was kind of fun. We had one family that said hi to us. They're like, "I'm from Utah." y'all. Yeah, so we met some nice people. We got to the tourist center, and then we were just kind of picking the trails we wanted to go on and whatever. So we just ended up taking just like the main path, and we went up, took lots of pictures. That's Tatum. As you can see, that's my English teacher. Yeah, it's super pretty. I'm really glad that we went because I'd never seen it before, and the pictures don't do it justice. There was also squirrels everywhere, which was really cool. And we did a presentation for the 5th grade class. It's about like wildlife, and that was one of the ones on there. So it was kind of cool to see all that stuff too. Late afternoon, we headed back. We had dinner at Chili's. We got home pretty late, but it was really a great experience.
Okay. So Tuesday we woke up and we just had a pretty chill morning. We didn't do much. We just hung out and enjoyed it outside before it got too hot. We went to Dutch Bros because we don't have that here and it was cool. We got drinks that have a lot of fat in them. We went to the Phoenix Premium Outlet Mall where most of us spent a lot of money and it was really fun. It's kind of nice to walk outside to your shops and just be outside while shopping. We came home and we enjoyed the day by the pool, lots of tanning. This is my aesthetic picture of my lunch, so I hope you enjoy it. And we went to an escape room that afternoon, and half of us did Lost City, and the other half of us did Scooby-Doo.
Did you guys make it out?
Oh yeah. Scooby-Doo team won.
Wow.
We battled, and they even went in before us. Yeah.
I would like to comment on your lunch. You did, in fact, spill your Shirley Temple in the pool.
I did that. We went to Oso for dinner after the escape room, which was just like an outdoor restaurant type thing with like bar food. And there was cornhole and ping pong, and it was all like lit up. And I mean, other days there's like tournaments for cornhole and outdoor movies, but yeah, we just spent the night there, and then we went home and went to bed.
Would you like me to wait for this one? Or?
Did it get unbuds?
Oh, did somebody sell them?
You wanna check this one forward for that one?
So while we're waiting, what did you guys think of the Arizona Terra Stories? Did you like it, or was it too deserty? Was it?
It was nice because it was warm, but the humidity was low, so it didn't feel like as hot as
It's
it would
definitely
here.
way different than Montana.
100%, right?
Different experience, but it was really nice to see it.
What part did you like about it the most?
I like the cactus. They like the desert with like all the cacti, and then like you don't really see that here in Montana.
Isn't it crazy to think when you start off in Phoenix and then you start going through the different elevations, how versatile that state really is? It's really a pretty state.
It was crazy flying over. You could just see the lines of the waters going, and it, like I swear it was red.
Beautiful state.
Yeah, like where we stayed, we could just see like all the red rocks, but like while we were driving like 3 hours to the Grand Canyon, then it was just like the forest and a bunch of pine trees.
Completely unexpected from where you start 2.5 hours earlier, you know, so to speak. So, yeah.
Okay.
We're back up. Sorry.
Alright. Wednesday was pretty eventful for us, as you can tell. You know, Tuesday we kind of got to relax, really enjoy our Airbnb, but Wednesday morning, Amelia and I cooked pancakes and eggs on our Blackstone griddle. I don't have a picture of that on there, but I can attest they were very good. We kind of just spent the morning relaxing. The temperature on Wednesday was the hottest, so we soaked up the sun, relaxed, like I said. And then later in the afternoon, we were about 30 minutes away from downtown Phoenix. So we all hopped in our van, drove downtown. It was pretty hot midday. It was probably around 2-3 o'clock. We visited Arizona State University campus. We were actually allowed to go on the football field, which was really fun. We weren't allowed to like step on it, obviously, because they were aerating it and such, but we got to go see the field and we got to sit in the arena or the stadium.
What'd you guys think of that?
It's pretty cool. It's pretty
right?
big.
When it's in the lock, in the mountain there.
Yeah.
It's pretty, isn't it, the way they have that?
And then later, after we had gotten done touring, kind of looking around Arizona State campus, we went downtown and we went to the Phoenix Suns fan gear store. Just, why not? And then we went downtown Phoenix for supper at Blanco, Cocina, and Cantina. This was really good Mexican food. My bowl up there in the top right, I had a sweet potato bowl with Korean meat. Really good. And then after, this was my highlight of the trip, we went and got milkshakes at the Yard Milkshake Bar. I got the cereal killer, this is s'mores, and that is Cookie Monster. These milkshakes were massive, but they were so worth it. After this, we were sufficiently full, and we made our way to the MLB game where we watched the Arizona Diamondbacks versus the Chicago White Sox. Diamondbacks got the win, so that was fun. And then, as you can see, our seats were really nice. We were right off of first baseline, and we were all crowded together. A couple people actually got to take home some foul balls, so that was a fun experience. We went home, watched a movie. It was pretty late. It was like 10:30 because baseball games, to my surprise, go really long and they're kind of boring towards the fifth inning. So I was ready to come home, watch a movie, and then head to bed.
Okay, so on Thursday, again, we just woke up. We had a slow morning. We swam in the pool. We didn't really do much. Some people played cards. Some people attempted a crossword that didn't work. Then we went to the Stand Coffee Shop, which I actually didn't have a picture, but it was like a really good coffee shop that a couple people had went the previous day before. It was like at a greenhouse, but like it was just right outside of it. And their coffee's actually pretty good. Yeah. Then some people went to the sports rec center. It was like pretty, you could get like pretty cheap passes for like memberships. You could get pretty cheap ones, and there's like a ton of stuff like volleyball, basketball, rock climbing, go to the weight room, the pool. It's cool. And then we picked them up from the rec center and we went to Topgolf, which was really fun. Some people had never been. That's a picture of Topgolf in the bottom. I'm really bad. And then we went and had more ice cream. Mila is right outside the ice cream shop sitting on a pig on the bottom of it. That ice cream was really good too. Greg got like blue cheese and pear ice cream.
It was good.
Hey, nothing ventured, nothing gained, right?
Then we went to the Riparian Preserve at Water Ranch to watch the sunset, and most of my pictures are from there. I thought it was really pretty. I really liked all the ducks. There was a bunch of little baby ones and then some big ones, and there was actually some turtles too, and there's rabbits. There's a lot of rabbits. They're like, when you're walking through it, there's like a bunch of different lakes, but a couple of them were completely dried out. And I mean ponds. Ponds. A couple of them were completely dried out though. And then we were kind of not agreeing on what we wanted for dinner. So some people just ordered in a pizza and had pizza at the house, and some of us ordered Red Lobster. That was Mila's crab legs. They were really good. We ate like all of them, and then obviously we had to get the Cheddar Bay biscuits. Delicious too. And then it was like our last night there, and so we went night swimming, and it was really cold. And then we went to sleep.
So Friday was our departure date, and it was scheduled to be fairly early in the morning, but we all woke up to a text saying it was delayed, so we got to sleep in. So we got out, ate breakfast and all that, and we headed to the airport, but on the way, we stopped at a little, like a bunch of outdoor mall shops. And Ava and Aubrey, we all stopped at some, I don't know what it was called, Bubble Bee? Yeah, it's like a tea thing shop. There's Ava's drink, and then took a picture of that too. So, we finally got on the plane. Well, before that, we had to go through security. I got patted down a little bit. Experience. It wasn't bad. So we finally. No. I thought something was like hiding in my arm. We finally got on the plane, and as soon as we were about to take off, we hear that they delayed it for maintenance, which is not very fun to hear when you're in the plane. They said it was 10 minutes and another 10 minutes, and it ended up being like 50 minutes. So we're just waiting there. Everyone's getting anxious. We finally got off the ground, and then we arrived in Kalispell. That night, all the restaurants were full, so we had to wait at Famous Dave's. But yeah, but it was good. It was good. Yeah, headed home after that. Got home pretty late. Yeah,
Nice, guys.
Nice.
Well done.
We wanted to say thank you to our chaperones, which are Mike Tatum, Nicole Burrows, Shauna Tatum, and Jeffrey Burrows. They had to put up with us for a week, and all of our indecision. So really thank you to them for coming with us. Well, it was really good.
We wanted to say thank you to our advisors, Ms. Lacko and Ms. Dom. They helped us achieve this trip this year and made it possible. They were very involved with us and tried to give us as many opportunities as we could to fundraise and be able to make this trip possible. Even though they didn't go, they were a very big help to us this year, and we're very glad that they stepped up and helped us this year.
And of course, thank you to the board for hearing us out, letting us take this trip. We had a lot of fun, and yeah, just thank you so much.
You know, this is the best part of sitting on this side of the table. Truly. To be able to hear the successes and the adventures of our kids, it's quite heartwarming. The rest is not so much fun. But that's the territory. You know, it's what we signed up for. But thank you all, and good job to all of you for earning it.
Watching you kids get to explore the world to make sitting on this side so much worth it.
I would like to add that, you know, like, I received an email just, like, saying from the Airbnb owner, how clean they left the Airbnb, how respectful they were communicative with flight departures and everything. Like, the gentleman said, the best large group I have ever hosted. And so, I think these kids and Mr. Tatum and Mrs. Burrows and their spouses also deserve a thank you, because you send a big group out and you want them to represent your school and your community well, and you guys deserve a thank you, because you did just that. Good job.
And just to add real quick, won't take up too much time, but everybody we talked to down there, and I don't know if this is normal, but the escape room people, when I contacted the Diamondbacks and inquired about tickets, everybody, when they heard what these guys had done to get there, they were over the moon. The Diamondbacks gave them half price on tickets. The escape room gave them half price on their escape room stuff. The pizza place, tiny little pizza place, they were surprised and amazed these guys did this. So, kudos to the Phoenix area, the Gilbert area, because it was very welcome. No issues at all.
And our kids got to learn some amazing valuable lessons that, yeah, can't participate in that. Awesome. Okay, consideration and possible action to approve Sanders County to conduct the 26-27 school board elections. I'll entertain a motion on that.
I move that we approve Sanders County to conduct the 26-27 school board elections.
I second.
Any comments on that before we vote?
Tony?
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
Monica?
Yes.
Robert?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, so we have some budget considerations coming before us. I've asked Glenn to share with us some information, why some of these things are being brought to us, so not only the board is informed, but so is the public.
So, we've had this discussion numerous times and, you know, eventually has to culminate in maybe some recommendations and considerations. But this is the general fund, this is all of your employees and their salaries, work comp coverage, their health insurance, then gets into the operating budgets for each department, instruction, costs for students, technology, guidance program, nursing, curriculum, library, superintendent and board have a budget, principals, business office, maintenance, special education, Indian Ed for All, vocational portion of instruction, and student activities. And these are all of the expenditures that come out of the general fund. And then there's specialty funds for transportation and food service and that sort of thing. But the focus has been kind of on the general fund because the amount of the budget is prescribed in law. And, you do have some flexibility to vote levies and increase to get to the maximum, but even the maximum, there's limits to what you can have in a general fund budget, so you try to fit all of your costs within that, which sometimes is challenging. So, we've kind of been working on the bottom line here, so the general fund budget for next year is right at $4 million. Our expenditures are more than $4 million, and so right now, we're looking at a deficit of about $20,000, which you could probably live with. But in looking down the road over the next couple of years, this deficit is just gonna grow. Because every year, your staff needs increases in wages, your utility costs go up, your insurance costs go up, and you have an opportunity right now to maybe build some capacity to help you out over the next couple of years. So we're looking at some budget recommendations to try to have some money remaining in this fund, or to make sure that we've got enough of a cushion that if something changes, we can address that. So, the recommendations are all aimed at reducing this deficit, which again is not overly large, but you should go in with a positive budget. So I have to admit that today I connected the dots on something that I was missing in this budget, and that was I was showing a vacant second grade position. And where I was not connecting the dots was that last year, this position was filled with Erin Miller. And so I have Erin in the budget, and I have this vacancy in the budget. So we can remove, this is an additional staff member. So we can start by just removing that vacancy, and then we don't need to take this action tonight because there isn't a vacant second grade position.
Oh, good, okay.
So that was a positive thing. I've looked at these numbers, other people have looked at these numbers, and today the light bulb came on that I didn't realize that Aaron filled this position a year ago, and there really isn't a vacancy, and I built it, like I said, with 2 positions. So that's going to, that was one of the recommendations, was to not fill that position, and so that takes us out of the negative into about a $40,000 balance, which isn't bad. But anyway, that takes one of the recommendations off the table, so that's an easy decision. Yeah, so you can just, take that off, so that, when you get to it, but, as far as, we've got some other recommendations, but we'll maybe talk about them as we go, or do you want me to talk about all of them, and then you can just take action as we go through?
So what do you prefer?
So let's talk about the student activity recommendations. There was a lot of conversation about the number of activities that you offer, and should that be reduced, because those programs, are costly, and then there's always trying to make the balance between education and extracurricular activities, right? So, so you used to have a program whereby you had some sports that you referred to as tier 2 sports, and there were 4 or 5 sports. There was conversation about should we just discontinue some activities? Should we return those activities to the tier 2 and make them operate on whatever funds they can raise? And a couple of other recommendations. One actually came from the auditor, because you have a significant balance in your student activity fund. You've got over $250,000 in that fund. That is not recommended. That appears that you're fundraising in your community way beyond what you intend to use, and that doesn't make sense. Stop raising funds or use the funds. Don't just raise money for, to amass money out of your community. So we looked at, okay, so what are ways to do that and help out the district at the same time? And so one of the things that we've talked about is these are the balances in these funds, and all of these funds are the sports activities, okay? And then there's lots of other classes have money in this account. The shop program raises money in one way or another. It lands in this student activity account. This is a completely different bank account than the district. But anyway, lots of different groups have raised money for a variety of things, and most of them raise the money, use the money, move on to their next project. I think that when you were still tier 2 is when a lot of these funds were raised for the sports activities. And then you move those into the district funding, and then the funds just sat there. And so that's a good place to utilize some of those funds and bring this balance down. The audit is actually costing you additional money by having this kind of a balance in the student activity fund. And so it'll save us some money on the audit and save them some work on the audit, because these are heavily audited. And when you have that kind of a balance, it puts you in the next level of requirements as far as how many documents they need to look at and so on for the audit. So there's lots of opportunity to save the district some money by utilizing some of these funds. And so one of the conversations we had was maybe for 1 year, we would use the balances in these sports accounts to pay the coaches. And that'll get us 1 year down the road, build a little capacity for the next year again. Not all of these activities or athletics have enough money to pay their coaches for a year. And so the offset would be the district would pick up the difference on any of those sports that didn't have enough money to pay their coaches. And if they had enough money to pay their coach and money left, that would remain in that account for use later. And this would reduce that $250,000 account by about $50,000. And I think that gets you just below the threshold that has all these additional auditing requirements. So anyway, drafted that for a look, okay, so, and these are estimates because obviously sometimes the coaches change and these aren't necessarily firm numbers, but pretty good numbers as what coaches would cost. These account balances have grown just a little bit over the last month, so those are estimates, pretty close estimates at this time. And so one of the considerations tonight is to approve using these accounts that have been identified here to pay the coaching salaries for 1 year. And so, I do understand that there's some questions about this. The fact that the recommendation came from the auditor makes me feel pretty comfortable about accessing these funds. I did not run this exact scenario by the auditor, and I think that we need to do that. And so, the motion tonight might be something along the lines of accessing these, sports accounts to the tune of about $50,000. And then we can work with the auditor and make sure that we're on firm ground in making this change. So technically what would happen is, the $50,000 would be moved out of these accounts and moved into the district accounts. You don't, because these coaches are obviously paid through payroll, and we don't want payroll expenses hitting this student activity account. So we would want to literally transfer the money into an account at the district level. There is also a student activity account in the district's accounts, and these funds could go in there, and then when we run payroll through there, the retirement would hit the retirement like it does now, and we would just tap into this $49,000. We wouldn't have all the retirement costs to go with it. The district would continue to cover those. So that's one of the recommendations. The cutting of certain sports altogether, didn't necessarily get any traction, although a lot of discussion. The tier 2, returning to the tier 2, again, a lot of discussion. Board's not feeling overly comfortable about doing that, and so this is one of the recommendations. What was the other recommendation on student activities? The coaching stipends. Oh, and the other one has to do with, and I don't know if we got it on here, but the other recommendation had to do with the purchasing of uniforms. So uniforms are currently purchased out of district funds. And again, because there are some fairly significant, well, actually, the thought on the uniforms was that, because the Booster Club was here at a board meeting one evening and said, you know what, we're willing to help with that. If the coach will come to a Booster Club meeting, bring the numbers from their roster from the previous sports year and request uniforms, we are willing to help with that. And again, that's one round of uniforms, but you can build some capacity in the general fund because you're not gonna buy any uniforms for, I think, that uniform replacement is spread out over 5 years. And so, and you think there are also some funds in these student activity accounts that could be used for uniforms, and then they could raise money if they want to, if they need to for uniforms. So we thought maybe just one round of uniform replacements could turn to the opportunity for fundraising. And knowing that the Booster Club offered to work with coaches and teams, made us feel better about that decision. Obviously, this board cannot dictate what the Booster Club's going to do, but they were here and made the offer, and so we just turn around and offer that to coaches, though this board doesn't have any control over that process. So so those were the two recommendations that we landed on, that were preferable to discontinuing some sports or returning to the tier 2, option. So, those are two budget recommendations around the student activities.
Before we move off of that, Gwen, could you speak a little to how we might manage the Title IX concerns?
Yeah, and I actually think that the auditor could help us with that. So we should send this exact scenario by them to make certain that, that they don't see any issues. And, obviously, the district also has an attorney, but I'd rather use your auditors because we've already paid them. So, to look at it first and make sure that there are not any concerns with this. But again, since the recommendation came from them to say, listen, and no one wants to just dump this money. I mean, just spend money to spend money, right? That's not the goal here. But we do need to reduce the balances. So, definitely, that's a great question, and we do need to get that answered before we take action.
So we wouldn't really wanna approve these things tonight until we had consulted with the auditor.
I think you can make a motion that as long as it passes the auditor and or legal, and that it's okay to go, you can already have the motion passed and ready to go as soon as they get permission.
And you could set a not to exceed of this 49,000, cause that's kind of our goal, is to get this balance down, and, yeah, and so the fiscal year's about over, and auditor has made this recommendation, and if we don't do it before the end of the fiscal year, then it's gonna be on your next audit too, and so I'd like to get ahead of it, but certainly it's the board's, decision. But I'm thinking a recommendation that, within legal rights or legal parameters, we reduce these sports accounts, because these other accounts belong to those groups that raise them. The sports accounts often raised by parents, groups of parents and that sort of thing, and there was a huge community fundraiser that raised this $12,000, and that was 5 or 6 years ago, and it's never been touched. So that lends itself to this, to this scenario, yeah. So, but we'll definitely, Marion will follow up, we'll send this scenario past the auditors and get their
Buy-in.
yes, yep, and we will specifically ask about Title IX concerns, yes.
May I speak
Oh,
to
oh.
something?
We have to do a motion first before we have comment, yeah. So, probably start at the top and just kind of work our way through.
Yeah, we haven't talked about Fund 15, want me to keep going down these, and then you can just make motions?
Yeah, we'll,
Okay, this will be quick. So there's a fund called the Miscellaneous Programs Fund, it's Fund 15. And within that fund, much like you saw with student activities, you saw all these mini accounts for all of these different groups.
I'm sorry, 15 or 215?
Well, 215, yeah. The 2 in front of it signifies that it's a high school fund, and 15 is the fund. That's okay, no, that's no problem. And, so this is in the district's books. This is where grants go, so you can see, highlighted in green, the Title I grant, the 21st Century grant, the IDEA grants. Those are the federal grants, but there's also state money in here. There's, local money in here. The difference between student activities and district in this account, student activities is raised by students, spent by students. These are donations and that sort of thing that really don't have anything to do with students. But you can see there's multiple accounts in here. There's 51 different accounts in this one fund. And we track them individually as if they're mini bank accounts. Each one of these is its own account. So when we came into this fiscal year in July, we had some accounts in here that had negative balances, and you can see them here. And this is fairly common in school districts over time. because they each have to be tracked individually, you can sort of lose track of where you're at. And so you can end up with some accounts being in the negative. For example, here's a ESSER 3, and it was overspent by about $1,500. And so, and you see, here's a miscellaneous field trip account was overspent by $5,000. And, this Headwaters Foundation grant on the elementary side was overspent by $3,400. Now, there's also a Headwaters Foundation grant for the junior high, but I didn't feel comfortable just taking that $3,400 out of this one. Because these accounts belong to people, right? They've raised these money or these donations have been made. But we do have to correct the negative balances somehow. And so the recommendation is there's a few accounts that are kind of generic accounts. One of them, interest. So any interest that was gained by this fund 215 goes into one of these smaller accounts. So there's about $2,800 there. Indirect costs, when you receive federal grants, you can take a portion of the grant to cover costs within the district, like electricity and maintenance, upkeep, that sort of thing. It's called indirect costs, and you can take a piece of that grant and put it in a separate account and use those dollars for something in your district. This multi-district co-op state payment, that happened numerous years ago. It actually had its own fund, so I'm not sure why this money landed in this fund, but there's a balance in there that belongs to the district. So we found the accounts that we thought belonged to the district that we could use to offset these negative balances, clean these up, start fresh with positive balances, and all that is 52 accounts, right? So I'm asking the Board of Trustees to consider approving these transfers to clear that up before we get to the fiscal year end. Then there are some, there's some cleanup on student account, on checks that never cleared on student accounts and district checks. You must have a list of those, I don't have anything on those. And then the final one has to do with special education. And of course, you're gonna be a member of the co-op next year. So, and the district, the Board of Trustees has been given some directives in regard to special education. And we need to meet those directives. And, in consultation with Taylor Salmi, who is the director of the Special Ed Co-op, she has then brought forward some solutions to the directives that the board has received. And one of those is that you need some additional special education paraprofessionals. And in Taylor's opinion, you need 3, maybe 4. And so you do have option in the tuition fund to raise a local levy without a vote of the people to cover special education costs. And so technically what you do is you calculate the cost of your special ed program. You subtract from that the money that you get from the state. And then the law allows you to levy on your property taxes the difference between what you need to run your special ed program and the piece that you receive from the state. So if you need 4 additional paraprofessionals, the money has to come from somewhere. And the proposal tonight is for the board to consider increasing the local levy in the tuition fund to pay the costs of 3 to 4. That decision hasn't been firmly made yet. But if you levied and you didn't use all of those funds, they would carry forward into the next year, right? So it's not like you're going to lose them or that sort of thing. But in the calculation of what does our special ed program cost, less what we get from the state, last year you levied $161,000. In the calculation of what does it actually cost, the law gives you the authority to levy up to $245,000. So we're talking about an $80,000 increase in the tuition fund to cover the cost of those additional paraprofessionals. And this is a critical point for the district because you're under heavy scrutiny for your special education program. You need to make some movement, some significant movement toward meeting the directives that you've been given, and this would go a long ways to doing that. So that's the last budget consideration that's on this list, so.
Thank you, and I'm sure there might be more questions as we get into them again.
Sure.
But thank you for the oversight for us as we move forward. Okay, so first we have consideration and possible action to increase the non-union staff salaries by 3%. This number was arrived at because that is what our certified staff got. Our classified staff was a little more not clean, so typically we follow classified staff with our non-union staff. I would entertain a motion on that.
I make a motion to increase the non-union staff salaries by 3%.
I'll second.
Any comments or thoughts on the non-union staff salaries from the board? Any public, any comments on that before we vote? Okay, Steve?
Yes.
Monica? Yes. Robert?
Yes.
Colleen?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, we are going to table the increase of the salaries of the principals so that all principals have an opportunity to, share their wishes with the board. Consideration and possible action to approve the reduction of one elementary certified position. That was cleaned up first, so we are also going to not table it because we don't need to come back to it. I don't know what that motion would be.
You have to make a positive motion, so you can make a motion to pass it and vote it down. Seriously, you can't make a negative motion.
Fantastic, I would entertain a motion for that, that sounds fun.
Make a motion to approve the reduction of one elementary certified position.
Any comments on that before we vote? Things appear very weird, I'm just saying. Those of you who've never sat up here, it's odd. Okay, we'll vote. Call it Steve and Colleen.
Okay, Steve?
No.
Colleen?
No.
Monica? No. Robert?
No.
Okay, that one's gone. Okay, consideration and possible action to pay the coaching stipends from the appropriate student activity account. We've heard the information on that. I would entertain a motion that's somewhat in line with that we can actually vote on the UNA.
I move that we pay the coaching stipends from the appropriate student activity accounts for the 26-27 school year with the caveat that it has to be approved by the auditors and legal.
I'll second that.
Did you get all that? Hold on, we will wait before she has to take more, because that's a lot. Okay, any comments from the board for the public comments? We've been over since, okay, does anyone in the public?
Did you want to include legal with that too?
She did say legal.
I know,
Yes.
but
we
did
do.
you want to? Did you just want to talk to the auditor, approve it with the auditor?
Well, she said auditor and legal.
And legal, that's right,
Yes.
yeah, I heard that.
Yeah,
That's
so,
what
well, let's see what the auditor has to say, and if they're like, well, we think you should, talk to your attorney, then we'll go that route, but we'll try
I
to.
think if we pass this, you have to do it through vote. If that's the agenda that goes through, absolutely.
Erica Boyer, and thank you for adding legal to this, because I wouldn't go to my accountant for legal advice under any circumstances. And in fact, when I do ask for it, they send me to my attorney, so thank you for making that caveat. I will say, as a parent who's done a ton of fundraising on a lot of different fronts, this is concerning to me. As a parent who has set up a booster club for soccer and has talked to Dylan McDermott and his firm extensively, there's a lot to this that I think more than an auditor needs to be apprised of. How do you reconcile the softball fund and those parents who spent years raising that money to buy equipment, thinking that they were going to have that in their hip pocket? I sat at a table and sold sweatshirts so that our girls could buy tearaway jersey, tearaway warm-ups and new backpacks and gear bags. I didn't sit there to raise it, and people didn't buy those sweatshirts to pay a coaching stipend. So I urge you to really give this a ton of thought before you take action on this. And I urge you to get qualified Title IX legal advice on this. So thank you very much for bringing that caveat in.
So, I'm Kim Mako, and I just wanted to express that, in the volleyball account, I'm the head coach for volleyball. As the head coach, you look at, numbers coming up. We had record participation numbers in the volleyball program at the high school level, record participation numbers at the junior high level. Just last year, we had 60 participants, 6th through 12th grade, which is very large participation. It's wonderful. Then you have to look at infrastructure. So the monetary value that is in the volleyball account is designated. I've worked side by side with our athletic director to provide infrastructure. More kids means more equipment. He and I have worked together to be able to provide an infrastructure opportunity to be able to offer volleyball opportunities to all 60 or even plus 60 plus as we come into the 2026 season. So that money is actually earmarked that's in the volleyball account and will be used. If you have any questions regarding how it will be used, you can talk with Russell, our AD. The second thing that I would say, if there is money that needs to be used so that we don't continue to have to pay an auditor because we've done, that's the way I'm understanding it, that we consider the maintenance, can we roll it over into a district to say, okay, this is earmarked for replacing the gym floor, looking ahead and saying, these are things that are going to need to happen. And it's going to support all extracurriculars. I can't think of the athletic event that doesn't use our gym floor. Well, that's on a rainy day. Do you know what I'm saying? On rainy days, people are being sent to the gym. If eventually our junior high floor wants to be replaced with wood, can we have a plan to say, okay, we want to roll over, we want to save money from that audit, but let's think ahead. We're going to need to replace the scoreboards. We're going to need to replace those things. And if we, as head coaches, know kind of what the situation is, financial, I don't want to, what Erica was saying, I don't want to use money that the softball team, they put in that blood, sweat, and tears, but I also understand that there's going to be growing pains when we go from tier 1 to a tier 2 model, and what does that look like? So as long as the communication is good, ultimately I want all programs that come out of the school to be successful and to be positive for all of our students that participate in them. And so I would just say, if there is a way, I'm not the expert in that. If there's a way that we can say, hey, can you roll over this amount? We earmark it, it's documented, this is going to go to replace this gym floor, this is going to go to replace scoreboards. And then that way we're not having to scrounge and be oh, now we have this, and how are we going to scrounge up this money? If we're in good financial fitness state now, let's put it aside for future expenses that we know are going to be around the bend, and if that's possible, perhaps we can consider that. So, all right, thank you so much.
Jessica mine, talking on cross-country, wrestling, and track, and I wouldn't mind if some of our funds went to the game for it. I was just joking about that.
It's on public record.
So, I'm with Eric on this, that I don't like this idea. If we were going to look at, I guess, increasing your guys' surplus, if that's what we were looking to do, I would much rather see an approach that says we're responsible for our uniform rotations for one more rotation. Given that would take you 15 years or so for you guys to fully recoup that and build that account, I think that at least has ownership from the kids, and it's money that was raised for the kids. The funds that are for my accounts, they were not raised by parent groups, they were raised by the coach and the kids. So I have a lot of time, sweat, effort put into raising those funds, and just as volleyball said, that money is earmarked. I moved $5,000 out of my wrestling account this year. I plan on doing another $4,000 next year. Cross country, I'm looking at about $3,000 to $5,000 next year that I'm going to be moving for the team. And we raised that money specifically for those things. If you take it from me, it sets me back 2 to 3 years. I got to start re-raising all those funds to get to the thing that I'm trying to purchase for these kids. The other thing I'll say, and this probably goes for you as well, we have a lot of new coaches. We've had a lot of new ADs over the last couple of years, and it's been very difficult to know the money we have and to get access to that money. I think rather than offload this money now, tell us coaches next year we have to draw our accounts down, give us a number we have to draw them down to, run that on the audit for one more year, but give us the opportunity to spend the money first. I know softball, they could use a lot of field work out there. That outfield is extremely rough, it could use sand, it could use reseeding. They have the money, let's put the money towards that. We just need to make sure that we have all the pieces in place where we can support them in that. So our track, we could use facilities out of our track. Right now, our shed that we keep all of our implements in is falling apart. It's absolutely terrible. So let's take some of those funds and put them towards that track program. But I think there are better things we can do with that money, rather than just build our surplus. And I think the coaches, if given the right motivation, next year we can make that happen. So, thank you.
We talked about the uniforms. I know for a fact softball was out of rotation and they bought their own themselves.
We did that with wrestling. That's what that $5,000.
That money, I know the softball did for uniforms. They paid for themselves out of pocket.
Yep. In track this year, we have 22 uniforms and 34 kids. So I need to go as soon as this track season's done, and I have to buy uniforms in order to supplement what we have. If I can't find that same uniform, I have to buy all new. So that's what that money is going to go towards. So if you take that from me, I don't have an option at that point. So, thank you.
Lisa Brown, golf coach here. There is no way that I could look Bob Bunch in the eye in heaven and say, thanks for donating $1,000 to our golf program so that you could give it to me. He gave it to us to use to support supplies for our golf kids. I need to order new golf balls. I need to order a new hitting mat. We have things that we buy through our golf team. Until this year, we bought all of our own uniforms and all of our own shirts through that fund. You're gonna drain that golf fund, and $1,000 of that was given to us by Bob Bunch as a parting gift. So I have a hard time even saying that that's okay, because it's not.
Just a quick one. I mean, similar to what others have said. Mike Tatum, speaking for the football program, I guess this makes me real uncomfortable because those monies raised there. I've gone through the kids, and I specifically had the kids raise the money. You know, I organized stuff, talked to them, and said, you know, anything they raise will go to that. Football camps, gear, blah, blah, blah. And so I'm not for paying my salary out of money that I promised the kids they would get for their hard work. Whether it's car washes or camps or whatever. Yeah, they're the ones doing it.
Well, I think the issue that we're struggling with is that we have more money in the student activity accounts that is appropriate. What would be, I'd like a suggestion of what would be a motion that we could do to reduce the money that we have. We can, but.
Nope, not,
But we can.
so what we can do is vote yes or no to this motion that's already on the table, we cannot change the motion.
Guys, if you mind, completely unrelated, but I would like to see this motion not pass, and the other thing I would like to see is that we allow that to hit the audit one more year and give us coaches the opportunity to spend this down. Like I said, I know that the new volleyball net standards are looking at going into the gym, they've got quotes on that, that's gonna eat most of the money they have in there. I guarantee the softball team, if they wanted to redo that outfield and make it safer for the kids that play on it, that would eat the vast majority of the money they have in. And then from the football side, they've got a million things they could put that money towards, so I don't think they'll have a problem drawing it down. And then for me, my cross country, my wrestling and my track, I already have plans in place on where I'm gonna spend those funds. In golf, I know golf's the same way, they've got more things than they can spend the money on, so. Basketball, I know they've been talking about uniforms and needing to look at upgrading uniforms, so they have things to spend money on. I don't think that we haven't been spending this money because there's not a need. I think it's been hard to access this money, and without the consistency with the athletic director, we haven't been able to build a relationship with that athletic director and get these funds put to where they need to be. I have a lot of things that are not up to par in all of my programs. It just takes time, it takes consistency with the administration up in the front office and with the athletic director for me as a coach to do that. So I think if you give us 1 year, carry this in the audit for 1 more year, and tell us coaches, you have to spend your accounts down for this number, I think that we can do it, and next year at this time, we can be at that spot. If we don't spend it down to that mark, then let's have a vote then as to what we wanna do with those additional funds. And if you're looking for a chunk of money to pull, that extracurricular fundraising, that $12,000 that's sitting up there, doesn't belong to one group. So if we're gonna pull something out and put it somewhere else, I think that would be the one that you might be able to consider. As for the rest of them, I think that we leave it to the coaches and give us 1 year to spend it, and I think everybody here would be happy with that.
I would feel much more honest to spend it on kids.
Erica Lawyer and Jesse, I wanna piggyback off of that, that 12,000 that's sitting there in that extracurricular fundraising, I'm not a paid coach, I volunteered last year, I was appalled at the state of our locker rooms. You should all take a walk through there. There's mold, there's cracked toilets, there was no hot water, there's no spigots in the girls' bathrooms. Girls' bathrooms haven't had hot water in 3 years, you wanna talk about a Title IX issue, the boys do, the girls don't. So if you're looking to spend some money, maybe we should give those locker rooms some love, because every kid that lifts, our training table is ripped up and shredded, it's disgusting in there. The place that we ask our referees for volleyball, football, everywhere to come shower, if I had a hotel room like that, I'd turn around and throw the keys back at them and say, this is a public health. Go look at that before you wanna start spending it on coaches, cause it's gross. I have pictures on my phone if you wanna see them, it's nasty. There's some definite money could be spent. And I do believe under Robert's rules, you can rescind your motion without having to kill it. Just something to look
Can I
at.
ask you a question? My feeling is that people aren't opposed to the idea of moving money from the student activities to the district's activity. You're just opposed to spending it on coaches.
Let's spend it on our kids where it makes a real solid impact for all the fundraising that they've done and their parents have done. Let's see those kids have a real bang for their buck for nothing less. And I really, honestly, when you leave here, you should walk through the training room and the 2 locker rooms, cause I was in there Tuesday night for open gym, just in where we invite our referees to go change. It's disgusting.
So this has been an ongoing conversation we've been having for a while. We've loved having the workshops with people coming in and talk to us. We do have a looming problem. We have too many sports with not enough kids, and we cannot financially cover it for years coming up. We were trying to find a stopgap so that we had a better idea next year how to accomplish this, because we just can't continue on the route that we're on. We'd like to not see programs get cut, and none of us really like the idea of tier 2 again, but if that's something we have to go to or pay to play, those are conversations. This was a discussion about stopgapping for at least 1 year, that all kids have the same sport access that they had last year, this year to next year. But there are probably going to be some hard choices that your board coming up is going to have to make about what access your kids have to sports and whether they have to pay to do it. So this is just an option to avoid that for at least a year. That's why we're having the discussion.
Sorry, Eric.
Go ahead.
I just have a question, Mary Hallowell. If you're not paying the coaches out of this, where are you paying the coaches? Where's the money for the coaches coming from?
General fund. The general fund.
And so that's $77,000 that would get added to a budget on the other side. That's not in there now. So that would bring our overall budget into the red. Is that correct? Okay. Thank you for the
We will
clarification.
definitely be in the
vulgar
red.
language,
Okay.
that's surprising.
Hold on, wait, hold on.
Thank you.
One, hey, we can't have just conversations, and technically we're only supposed to come up once per thing, but I've let y'all come up twice now.
Thanks. So this is for next year. I'm hoping that we don't have pushing $150,000 in consulting fees and legal fees next year. Is there some cost savings there to save extracurricular for our kids? Cause that's what, if you add up all the invoices for legal and consulting, it's pushing 150. I would think that would make an awful big dent and save the extras for our kids. That I can give you a mountain of evidence how it increases school enrollment, how it increases belonging, how it increases mental health, how it increases all of those things. So maybe let's just hope we don't spend 150 on that stuff.
I would hope, but there are things and stuff that we cannot control. Okay, so we are going to make a vote on this. Well, we're actually gonna vote on it. I'm sorry. We have so many people coming up more than once. We're like breaking the law. Oh my God. Okay, one more time, Jesse.
One more time.
It's my last night. Let's just go out with a hurrah.
And I know, Erica, you were part of that group that was looking at one point on what we do about the deficit when it comes to sports, because it's extremely expensive and the busing and everything else that goes with it. And I know the tier 2 discussion's been up multiple times, and we had talked about it even then, but we never got to a resolution. But if you just had a landing fee that each one of these sports has to come up with to participate, a fundraising goal every single year, I think your sports could do that. And the sports that I've been part of, both tier 2 and tier 1, we find one event, we know roughly what it takes in, we know when to run it, the kids expect it, it's somewhat related to our sport, and it brings in a consistent amount of money every single year, and at the same time, it can provide a service to the community. So I don't think that would be a bad approach, and I'd like to see an approach like that go before something like this. Or you can look at some of the other schools that do landing fees. And I know a lot of people get concerned about the landing fees, but if you have a landing fee and it's either per sport or it's to play sports all season, and this is what your buy-in is to play sports, and then that goes and offsets these coaching fees. I think that's another direction you could go with that as well. But I think both of those approaches would be a lot better in my mind than taking the money that, when the students raised these funds or people contributed to these funds, they were promised they were going directly to the students, not to pay the coach's stipend. But I think both of those would work, and I think it's something that we ought to really consider going forward, is do we do a pay-to-play? And I know a lot of schools with the pay-to-play, you can buy one for your kid, and then you can buy a sponsorship. And that way, if the kid maybe doesn't have the money, there's an application or a way someone can come forward and say, hey, Jimmy over here, he wants to play, but his folks don't have the money. Well, we have 7 scholarships available, and then they have one that they can kick, and it stays anonymous. So there's a lot of ways we can skin that cat, but I think it's something that we ought to actually explore and go talk to some schools that run that type of a system before we go this route. And this is going to a surplus. It's not like we're sitting in the red right now. We're looking to take these funds, and the main reason for it is so it doesn't come up on the audit next year.
That's not exactly true.
Because
We're not anymore though, once you
Yes.
guys move that feature, right?
Yeah, but these coaches are not in the general.
Oh, you didn't even put that
We
in there.
moved them out for this vote to see what it would look like if we had 1 year where they were paid for. Could we be in
So
the
that
bill?
puts us $7,000 in the hole, is where that puts us. If you have a $42,000 budget increase off of getting rid of
We're
that
only
feature.
gonna save 49
Yeah.
on this proposal.
But I think there's other ways to do it. I just hate to see these funds taken. And then it's gonna make it hard for me to raise funds going forward, because every time I put on a fundraiser, the community's gonna ask the question, is this going to the kids or is this going to the coach? And I have a hard time answering that, because no matter what I say, it's going to be perceived negatively by them. So even if we do this only for 1 year, it's going to be affecting me 5 years from now, if you guys make this decision. So that's another one of my concerns. That's all I have. I'll quit. Thank you.
That's it.
Yes.
Okay, let's go ahead and vote on that. Polly?
No.
No. Easy peasy. Consideration and possible action to reallocate the $13,000 within Fund 215 to reconcile the negative balance in the account. I would entertain a motion.
I move we reallocate $13,000 within Fund 215 to reconcile the negative balance in the account.
I'll second.
Any comment or discussion about this agenda item from the board? How about from the public? Holly?
Yes.
Robert?
Yes.
Monica? Yes. Steve?
Yes.
Yes. Consideration and possible action to cancel expired student accounts, checks, and district checks so they can be cleared out of the record system. You should have 2 pages in front of you. I would entertain a motion.
I move to cancel expired student accounts, checks, and district checks so they can be cleared out of it.
I'll second.
Any comments or discussion on this agenda item from the board? How about from the public? Did you do it? Steve?
Yes.
Monica? Yes. Robert?
Yes.
Colleen?
Yes.
Yes. Consideration and possible action to increase the permissive levy amount to the maximum with the intent to hire paraprofessionals in order to stay in compliance with special education requirements. I would entertain a motion.
I move we increase the permissive levy amount to the maximum with the intent to hire paraprofessionals. I'll second.
Okay. Any comment or discussion from the board on this agenda item?
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
So, when Brooke was here, they were saying they'll step in and help oversee things and help us stay in compliance.
When who was?
Or I'm sorry,
Taylor Selmy?
Taylor,
Selmy.
my
Yep.
apologies.
Okay.
So they do not help with the staff for that?
No, the school does their own staffing. What she did was look at our IEPs, and based on what is required in our IEPs, we need 3 to 4 paraprofessionals to meet the requirements of what's in our IEPs currently, that we cannot provide right now.
And then they just oversee it and manage?
Yes,
our staff?
they're the director, so she becomes our director of special education, which we have not had one on record for a while. So we have an actual special education director on file with them. Okay, any comment from the public? Okay, we'll take the vote. Colleen?
Yes.
Monica? Yes. Robert?
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, so here we get to the confusing part with the rehiring of the staff. If you are tenured, we're not voting for you, you have a job. If you've been here and you're out of your probationary period and you are classified staff, we are not voting for you, you have a job. This literally is only going to go for those who are not tenured. We continue to vote you in every year. So I would entertain a motion over, and at this point, there are no classified staff that are not in probation, so you guys all have a job, we don't have to vote on that. We do have some non-tenured staff, some of them are some tenured, I'm not sure exactly which all they are. But I would entertain a motion about the hiring of the non-tenured teaching staff.
I move that we hire the non-tenured staff. You don't have to list
Certified staff.
or
I would just, we have a list of it, then which ones are not tenured.
Okay.
Huh?
So we need to state it
No,
properly?
she's got it, we just need a second.
Oh, I'll second. Oh, sorry.
Okay, are there any comments or discussion from this agenda item from the board? And from the public? Okay, let's keep ourselves out of hot water. All ready to vote. Monica?
Yes.
Colleen?
Yes.
Robert?
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, I'm back. You guys, only half a page left to go. Consideration and possible action to hire Alexis McComas as a full-time English teacher. I would entertain a motion.
I move to hire Alexis McComas as a full-time English teacher.
I'll second.
Okay, any comment or discussion from the board on this agenda item? Any from the public? Over the vote.
Steve?
Yes.
Monica?
Yes.
Robert?
Yes.
Colleen?
Yes.
Lynn?
Yes. Okay. High school cross-country head coach Jesse Germain, I would entertain a motion for that.
I move we hire Jesse Germain as the cross-country head coach.
I second.
Okay, let's do that. Okay, any comments or discussion about this agenda item from the board? Or the public? Okay, Colleen?
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
Monica?
Yes.
Robert?
Yes.
Yes, congratulations, Jesse. Still coaching. High school cross-country assistant coach Charity Germain, I would entertain a motion.
Move to hire assistant coach Terry Germain for high school cross country.
Second.
Any comments or discussion on this agenda item? Anybody? Steve?
Yes.
Colleen?
Yes.
Monica?
Yes.
Robert?
Yes.
Lynn? Yes, congratulations, Charity Germain, you're still coaching. High school volleyball head coach Kim Lacko, I would entertain a motion.
I move we hire Kim Lacko as the high school volleyball head coach.
I second.
Any comments or discussion on this agenda item? Anybody in here? Really good. Colleen?
Yes. Steve?
Yes.
Monica?
Yes.
Robert?
Yes.
Yes, congratulations, Kim Lacko, you're still coaching. Okay, high school volleyball assistant coach Jesse Butcher, I would entertain a motion.
I move we hire Jesse Butcher as the volleyball assistant coach.
I second.
Any comments or discussion on this agenda item? Monica?
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
Robert?
Yes.
Colleen?
Yes.
Yes, congratulations, Jesse Butcher, you are still coaching. And high school volleyball volunteer coach Kim Earhart, I would entertain a motion.
I move to hire Kim Earhart for the high school volleyball assistant coach. Volunteer.
Second.
Who said second?
Colleen.
Okay, any comment or discussion on this agenda item? Good? Steve?
Yes.
Colleen?
Yes.
Monica? Yes. Robert?
Yes.
Lynn? Yes, congratulations, Kim Earhart, you are still coaching. High school football head coach Mike Tatum, I would entertain a motion.
I move we hire Mike Tatum as the high school football head coach. I'll second.
Any comments or discussion on this agenda item? Colleen?
Yes.
Monica? Yes. Robert?
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
Lynn? Yes, congratulations, Mike Tatum, you're still coaching. High school assistant football assistant coach Lyle Fisher, I would entertain a motion.
I move to hire Lionel Fisher for the high school football assistant coach.
Second.
Any comments or discussion items on this agenda item? Steve?
Yes.
Colleen?
Yes.
Monica? Yes. Robert?
Yes.
Lynn? Yes, congratulations, Lyle Fisher, I'm really sad, but you're still coaching. High school football volunteer assistants Scott Johnson and Juan Lulak, I would entertain a motion.
I move that we hire Scott Johnson, Juan Lulak, and Bat Lulak as the high school football volunteer assistants. I'll second.
Any comments or discussion on this agenda item? Colleen?
Yes.
Monica?
Yes.
Robert?
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
Lynn? Yes. Congratulations, Scott and Juan, you can still do that for free. High school boys basketball coach Tyrell Allen, I would entertain a motion.
I move we hire Tyrell Allen as the high school basketball coach.
I'll second.
Any comments or discussion on that particular agenda item? Monica? Yes. Robert?
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
Colleen?
Yes.
Lynn? Abstain. Okay. High school boys basketball coach Alec Cole, I would entertain a motion. Congratulations, Tyrell, you're still coaching.
I move that we hire Alex Cole for high school basketball coach.
Second.
Any comments or discussion on that agenda item? Speak now or forever hold your peace. Steve?
Yes.
Colleen?
Yes.
Monica? Yes. Robert?
Yes.
Lynn? Yes. Congratulations, Alec Cole, you are still coaching. Okay. Junior high cross-country volunteer coach Gina Ferlin, I would entertain a motion.
I move, oh, go ahead. I move that we hire, Gina Ferlin as a cross-country volunteer coach. Second.
Any comments or discussion on this agenda item? Okay, I think we're good.
Monica?
Yes.
Colleen?
Yes.
Robert?
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
Lynn?
Yes, congratulations, Gina Ferlin, you are still working for free. Junior high volleyball coach McKenna Ross, I would entertain a motion.
Move we hire McKenna Ross as the junior high volleyball coach.
Okay, any comment or discussion on this agenda item? I think we're good.
Colleen?
Yes.
Monica? Yes. Robert?
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
Yes, congratulations, McKenna, you are coaching. Junior high volleyball coach Whitney Tanner Spur, I would entertain a motion.
I move we hire Whitney Tanner Spur as our junior high volleyball coach. Second.
Okay, any comments or discussion on this agenda item?
Yes.
Colleen?
Yes.
Robert?
Yes.
Steve?
Abstain.
Lynn?
Yes. Congratulations, Whitney Tanner Spur, you are still coaching. Junior high football coach Austin Turner, I would entertain a motion.
I move to hire Austin Turner, junior high football coach.
Second.
Any comments or discussion on this agenda item? I think we're good.
Steve?
Yes.
Colleen?
Yes.
Monica?
Yes.
Robert?
Yes.
Lynn?
Yes. Congratulations, Austin Turner, you are still coaching. Oh, junior high boys basketball coach Austin Turner, I'd entertain a motion.
I move that we hire Austin Turner as a junior high boys basketball coach.
I'll second.
Okay, any comments or discussion on this agenda item? Sports team, okay.
Colleen?
Yes.
Monica? Yes. Robert?
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
Lynn?
Yes, congratulations, Austin Turner, you're coach, you know what? Junior high boys basketball coach Clint Wiedemann, I would entertain a motion.
I move to hire Clint Wiedemann for junior high boys basketball coach.
Second.
Any comments or discussion on this agenda item? Just to say, can we just hire coaches all the time? God, this is nice. This is easy. Okay, all right.
Steve?
Yes.
Colleen?
Yes.
Monica?
Abstain.
Robert?
Yes.
Lynn?
Yes. Congratulations, Clint Wiedemann, you're still coaching. Junior high girls basketball coach Chad Revere, I will entertain a motion.
I move to hire Chad Revere for junior high girls basketball coach.
I'll second.
Okay. Any comments or discussion on this agenda item? Speak now or forever hold your peace over there. Think we're good.
Steve?
Yes.
Monica?
Yes.
Robert?
Yes.
Colleen?
Yes.
Lynn?
Yes, congratulations, Chad. You're coaching. Okay, junior high girls basketball coach Jack Revere, I would entertain a motion.
Move to hire Jack Revere for junior high girls basketball coach.
Second.
Any comments or discussion on this agenda item? Can the cousins do it without killing each other? That's the question. Okay?
Yes.
Junior high.
Yes.
Monica?
Yes.
Robert?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, congratulations, Jack Revere, you are coaching. Okay, junior high track coach Alec Cole, I would entertain a motion.
I move we hire Alec Cole as a junior high track coach. I'll second.
Any comments or discussion? Again, speak now for hold your peace over there. Okay, I think we're good.
Okay, Colleen?
Yes.
Monica?
Yes.
Robert?
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
Lynn?
Yes. Junior high track coach Maddie Cole. Okay, I'd entertain a motion.
I move that we hire Maddie Cole as a junior high track coach. I'll second.
Any comments or discussion on this agenda item? Okay, I think we're good.
Colleen?
Yes.
Monica?
Yes.
Robert?
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
Lynn?
Yes, all right, Maddie and Alec, you guys get to coach together, that's always fun. Skills USA advisor Mariah Corbin, I would entertain a motion.
I move that we hire Mariah Corbin as a Skills USA advisor.
I second.
Okay, any comments or discussion on this agenda item? Okay, I think we're good.
Monica?
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
Robert?
Yes.
Colleen?
Yes.
Lynn?
Yes, just want to say to all of you guys willing to, step up, whether it's coaching or working with our students, you guys are phenomenal. The kids are really blessed to have you guys step up and help. Okay, so public participation on non-agenda items. You get about 3 minutes, make sure it's not about anything that was on the agenda. I will set my timer. We will try our best not to respond, although I might kick one of these guys because they can respond when the board can't. Give me 1 second. That's okay, I wanna make sure I have it up and running, so I'm trying to be consistent.
Alright, well, she's giving time, Tina Ferlin. I just wanted to, I think anyone who read the paper this last week, I just wanna acknowledge Scott Brown. He was the 2026 Traffic Educator of the Year. And I just wanna acknowledge, we had Trooper Steve Spur and Officer Rob Neenan who came and spoke with our class. They donate their time every year when we ask them for traffic ed to come and talk to our new drivers about the rules of the local community and kind of things they should watch out for. So I just want to publicly acknowledge them too. So thank you.
Of the year, the Traffic Educator of the Year, second close, right?
I was the 2026 parallel parking champion.
Traffic education, you couldn't pay me for that job. That's worse than this one.
Okay. Public comment on non-agenda items?
Shelby Schwall, I know you guys, I think you said you can't answer questions, but I had spoken once with Chad about potentially adding a stop to the bus route. Our bus stop is a mile down Highway 200 from our home. So it's difficult to get my children on and off the bus when I work the after school program here. And going into next year, my oldest daughter ages out. She's going into 7th grade, so she can't attend the after school program anymore. So she can't take the bus home and walk a mile down the highway to our house. So I wanted to see if it's possible to add my driveway as a bus stop. I think where our stop is now, it's like a safety, so the bus can go in and turn around. But my driveway is a horseshoe shape, so they could pull in and then pull back out to the highway. So I just wanted to bring that to somebody's attention, that maybe it could be talked about at some point.
These two will have a discussion about that.
Okay, awesome.
That would be in their hands, not the board.
He's
nodding.
Yes,
Working on it.
thank you. Okay, thank you.
Public comment on non-agenda items.
Mary Hilda, I just wanted to say thank you. I know several of you are leaving us, and we have new board members coming on. Change is always good, yet you guys have done a phenomenal job over the past 3 years in great adversity, and sticking to it, and just thank you for the dedication that you've given to the community and to the school. I just wanted to say that.
Before we adjourn, Monica and I wanted to take a minute and thank our departing colleagues for their service.
Oh, she's hiding things.
Dear Lord.
Just
giving you the green chair.
Okay. Is it just my legs back? I just want us to be able to walk again.
We had a small gift for each of you. Robert, thank you very much for being willing to step up and fill in this year. Greatly appreciated. Steve, thank you so much for your 3 years of service.
Not a hug, I'm handshake. Thank you.
And we particularly wanted to recognize our board chair, Lana. I had no idea what a difficult job this was because I really didn't understand the constraints of the public meeting laws. But because we're not allowed to meet privately ever, Lana has had to be the hub of communication to and from the administration, and when issues arise, she has to talk to each one of us individually, sometimes several cycles per issue. It is hugely time consuming. And she has served with consistent respect and good humor. And I think I speak for all of us when I say we very much appreciate the fact that your leadership style is so unfailingly positive.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
I will tell you, your board next year is gonna be in good hands. Lots of good confidence in the board coming up too. And props out to my husband, his he's had to suffer through me, not being able to visit with him and go hide myself in offices and on the porch, cause he's not allowed to listen to what I talk about either, and it takes a considerable amount of time. And a lot of funding, a lot of medical issues. This is not a good seat to sit in. However, we did it, we're done. Any more public comment on non-agenda items before we close? And thank you for the room, guys. We'll close at 8:55.